In today's video, we're going to go through all of the images Rockstar released of Vice City and take a look at some of the hidden details that you may have missed. Stay tuned because some of the hidden details are really interesting and they tell us about some secret features that might be in GTA 6. Now this video will be a longer one than normal because there is just so much detail to go through. I've just finished writing the script and well, I don't know how long this video is going to be because I'm now recording it, so sit back, relax, grab something to eat, grab yourself a coffee, because this one's going to be a long but interesting one. So the first thing we're going to look at is the Vice City postcard, and then after that we'll go through the other images, but this image in itself has some really interesting things in it. So the first thing that we can see is just how beautiful this water looks. We can see here we've got these darker areas around here where the water is deeper, and we have some lighter areas such as over here where the water is a little bit more shallow. The actual different shades of blue and green and kind of like a tealish sort of colour we have going on in these waterways is extremely diverse and vast, and to be honest, this actually looks more blue than Miami's actual water does. But the whole point is to give off this kind of like Miami tropics vibe, and this is actually more like Bahamas coloured water. Maybe some of the greener bits are a bit more accurate, but the whole point is to convey not just an accurate image but an aesthetic image also, because that is important, and Rockstar have absolutely nailed that balance in this shot. Now in this image we're going to start off at the bottom left. So of course we have the Visit Leonida badge, which obviously is the tourist board for Vice City and Leonida. Now we can see in the water here we have these channel markers. We have port and starboard, and port is left and starboard's right, so if you're coming through this channel you're going the correct way. These are channel markers just basically to show where things have been dredged. Now dredging is where you pick up sand from the bottom of the seabed and create these channels for ships to travel through. So you have port and starboard like for the way out, and on the way in ships would take the path which corresponds to this signal marker. So these ships are all following the correct path. We can also see a lot more variety in the boat. So down here we have a center console boat. It looks like we have the same boat over here. Might be a little bit shorter but looks about the same. Over here we have kind of large yachts. I wouldn't say it's exactly a super yacht, but it's a very large boat, probably about 65 foot thereabouts. And over here we have another beautiful, this would be classed as a super yacht, probably on the smaller end of the super yacht scale, but still a super yacht. This is actually more akin to what we've seen in Grand Theft Auto 5, kind of that sort of ship size, actually probably a bit smaller. But there's one scene in the trailer on a super yacht, and it looks like it could be this one that Jason and Lucia were actually on. And of course around here we have all of these jet skis as well. And we have over here what appears to be the same boat as we saw over here. Now in the background here we have a catamaran, which is basically like a twinned hull boat. These are actually really common now in America. Over the past kind of like 5 to 10 years, these have really taken off as a boat style. Now there will be a separate video for boats. I know I'm talking a lot about boats, but there is a lot of boats in the shot. And if you also like boats or you just like the channel, please make sure you subscribe, because my goal is to one day own a boat. So any little bit helps. Now whilst we're on the topic of boats, in the background here we can see a cruise ship, the rear end of a cruise ship, which almost looks like an apartment building, it's so big, but we'll talk about that a bit later in the video. And also still while we're talking about boats, over here we have what appears to be a smaller speedboat. It looks a bit too big to be a jet ski, so it's probably a smaller speedboat. And over here we have something called a cigarette boat. Now there's a whole history about cigarette boats that we won't go into this video, but pretty interesting stuff. And we also have some wildlife as well. We have some birds over here. In fact, every single shot has some form of wildlife in it. It's really impressive. And of course we have these sailing yachts over here and another speedboat over here somewhere. Now these little sandbank islands in the middle, we can see the global illuminations really bringing out the light greens in the trees, and also the shadows making things look a little bit darker. Really well done. I feel like in Grand Theft Auto Online this would be the perfect location to kind of, well, camp. When people are flying over the city, if you wanted to crack out a rocket launcher, this is the place you want to hide. These are also like really good locations to kind of park your boat up and just chill, relax, have some fun. This scene just looks so aesthetic, like it's amazing. Over here we also have what appears to be a super yacht. This looks like the, if I zoom right in, wow, look at those pixels. Are you guys impressed? Are you entertained? This looks like the boat that was in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the actual game itself. In fact, this looks like the marina that was in Vice City. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's too hard to tell, but it looks like a similar sort of color scheme and shape of boat. Now over here we have the Ferris wheel, but we will talk about that in another shot a bit later on. Now I want to move up towards the skies a little bit, because These clouds, which are volumetric clouds, they look really good. We can see the areas that are kind of like overexposed, which is kind of a bit like the photographic style for the shot. But overall, these clouds do kind of make the image look a lot more convincing. If you replace this with kind of like a blue sky, just a flat blue sky, it takes away from that kind of immersion and realism of the shot. And of course, in the sky here, we have a helicopter and we also have some more birds. We can also tell, now this is extremely nerdy and I'm sorry for this, but you can see that you can individually tell the blades of the helicopter in this shot. Now, in a shot like this on a camera, you'd have to go for a higher shutter speed, lower ISO, a larger f-stop number to make sure all of this is in focus, and you'd have to go for a higher shutter speed, which means that you'd get less motion blur. So you would actually see details like if the shutter speed was high enough anyway, you'd see things like the blades of the helicopter kind of freeze framed in air. Not sure if that was intentional by Rockstar, but looking at how much detail they've put into everything else, let's be honest with ourselves, it might have been. Yeah, just a nerdy bit of detail, which I find really interesting because I am a nerd. Now this could be some wildlife down here, it probably is just rocks, so we can probably ignore that, but still interesting nonetheless. Now looking just across this waterway back to where we saw this catamaran over here, we can see that some kind of like apartment buildings, houses, and some of these have slipways and docks just outside them. It'd be really nice if they bring back that thing from Vice City where we could buy and own houses. It'd be great to have a boat that we keep outside and stuff like that. Obviously wishful thinking, but there's a lot of apartment buildings, and I'm guessing this is where some of the nicer houses are in this general vicinity. Probably not the cheapest of real estate, but yeah, really nice area. And looking just a bit further afield, we have the same sort of thing going on. You have some kind of larger houses, some mansions, so to speak, and some really nice boats in the background. I say nice, we can't really see. They're probably nice. Let's assume they're nice. Now if we zoom out a little bit and just get a bit of contextual information about the shot, we can see the absolute insane amount of skyscrapers. In fact, most of these buildings are taller than most of the buildings we had in Grand Theft Auto 5. There's a lot of skyscrapers going on here, and the downtown area of Vice City looks like it's a bustling hub of life. And some other things that I did notice as well is, for example, we have this crane, which obviously goes down the side of this building. Absolutely huge, and the scale is really hard to tell from this angle, but it looks like it's bigger than any of the cranes that we had in GTA 5. Now, before we get back to the skyscrapers, I just quickly want to talk about over here. Once again, we have these smokestacks, and I spoke about this in my Port Gowhorn video. The smokestacks look insanely realistic, like the actual smoke coming off them, especially when you think about like how far away this camera shot is. To be able to see smoke coming out the top, that's a pretty large draw distance. And then just behind it, it looks like we have a kind of like control tower, this blob here, which could be the airport. I need to kind of update myself in a bit of mapping knowledge, but it looks like it could be an airport, and in the background we have some larger buildings as well. We also have some quite nice architecture buildings over here, and it's the same actually for pretty much all of these buildings. They look very Miami. Now with these skyscrapers, obviously we've had multiple theories about how many interiors would be visitable. In my personal opinion, if 5% of the interiors in this game are visitable, that's an absolutely insane amount of interiors and not really a number that I can properly comprehend. Obviously we had that 70% figure floating around. I mean obviously that would be great, but I don't think it's possible, and I think that even if we had 5-10% of the interiors explorable, when you think about, you know, how many possible interiors there could be in this shot alone, I think it would take us years to find all of those interiors just in this area, never mind the rest of the map. So I'm optimistic, quietly optimistic, that maybe there'll be an unspoken amount of interiors that we can visit, but obviously I have to appeal to the realist in myself, and you know, already everything we see here is beyond what we can comprehend in a video game, never mind factoring in like a sheer amount of interiors on top of it. So we'll have to see. Now in the first trailer, we saw Jason and Lucia in the car going over this bridge, heading towards this stadium over here. I'm just going to circle that so you can see it. The stadium's over here, and we'll talk about that in a shot a bit later on, because later on we see a shot that is taken at night from what appears to be kind of this building over here, or maybe one of these buildings over here. I think it's a shot taken from here, but we'll go to that a bit later on. Now there is one thing in this shot that confuses the hell out of me, and maybe you guys can come up with some theories. What is this? If I zoom out a little bit to give it a bit of context, what is this down here? This, in my opinion, this looks like either the back of a whale or something, or an oil slick, or a rock, or maybe the base part of a bridge. So on a bridge, you see over here, on a bridge you have these little bottom pier sections here. This is designed so if a ship hits it, it doesn't take out the main bridge structure. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that could be part of a a bridge bollard system. I don't know. You guys let me know. It's confusing me and it's bothering me. So please comment your theories, because it's annoying me. Now let's go to the next shot. So in this image, we can see a lively scene from the Windwood area of the map. So let's get right into it. So from left to right, we can see Perle. And this is La Perle. It's a neighborhood in Vice City, and there is like a full GTA wiki page about it if you want to read a bit more about it. But basically, this is one of the neighborhoods in GTA 6. Now, if we just go down to the left down here, we can see there's a guy sat against this wall, and he sat with what appears to be Chop. I don't know. Alternate universe. It's Chop's long lost brother or sister. Yeah, the detail, even then, from this distance, like if I zoom all the way out, we can see we're actually some significant distance away from the dog, and with the way the light hits the dog's face, we can see still quite a bit amount of detail. It's just, I'm still blown away by how much detail there is in absolutely everything. Like, this game is going to run on a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox. Like, what? Then moving just to the right, once again, we can see this amazing ray tracing. We can see the exact reflection of everything happening above the scene at the correct angle. The ray tracing is just incredible. And let's go straight back to what I was saying about this working on a PlayStation 5. It boggles the mind. Now, looking just above, we can see, firstly, these dirt bikes look amazing. And we'll get back to some stuff over here in a second, because there is some interesting bits. But we have this side-by-side / kind of like off-road buggy sort of thing. A few things to notice. Obviously, the wheels are massive. These are absolutely huge for this sort of vehicle, but the suspension is purple, obviously matching into whether this is like a gang related thing or not. But there's a lot of purple accents going on in people's headwear and stuff. So, you know, maybe it is possible to actually change the color of kind of like individual components, things like suspension, all of that sort of stuff. Maybe that's possible. Once again, just speculating. The guy in here is hanging his arm out the window, and you'll see this from quite a few different people in various shots. It just makes NPCs look far more realistic. Now, we can see that a lot of people are wearing like masks, different headwear, their color coordinating their outfits. It just looks really kind of aesthetic. Personally, it makes me really excited to see what we can do with our characters, especially with Grand Theft Auto Online, to see what customization options that we'll have. Now, something that I do want to talk about is on these dirt bikes down here. So first thing to note is that these people are kind of in different positions in terms of where their feet are positioned. So this person has their feet much further back on the pedals than this person here. I say pedals, you know what I mean, the pegs, the clutch, and yeah, I'm not massively clued up on motorbikes. Sorry guys, cars and boats are my thing. But you can see them in different positions. Also, we can see that they're wearing gloves and color coordinated gloves as well. Now, of course, we have this person doing a wheelie. Once again, looks amazing. We can see some exhaust smoke coming from the bikes, like especially from that sort of distance, and also how far away we are from that activity. Just that detail is absolutely beautiful. Now, obviously, we have a lot of street art going on here. It'd be really interesting to see if Rockstar actually got artists to make this stuff, or whether Rockstar created it themselves, or maybe they employed some artists to create some of this stuff. I think it's really cool, and you know, a lot of credit to go out to them, because this stuff is genuinely really impressive. Now, over here we have what appears to be an income tax office, and it says real estate notary something fee. I don't know, but I don't think this would be like a real visitable location, but there's a lot of references to stuff that is actually in the Windwood area and things that are actually in Miami, you know, tax offices and stuff like that. It's really cool attention to detail that just helps, once again, and I keep saying this, but make this world look more convincing. And going back to the left, we can see the dirt on the back of this sign. Really nice. Now going over to these NPCs over here, we have obviously an NPC walking on the side of the street who looks like he's built pretty well. He actually looks a bit like Lincoln Clay from Mafia 3. I don't know, guys. You let me know what you think. Over here we can see a character has their eyes closed because they're probably blinking, and this is like one of those things that Rockstar just do really well. Like, this shot is realistic because when you take a random photo, there will be someone blinking in the shot, especially this amount of NPCs. It's quite likely. Just another piece of attention to detail that Rockstar have included. Now back up to the top of this shot. So we firstly have some birds sat on top of the sign, and this brand here is called Manman, and this sign says Passion mais délicieux, which basically means means cheap but delicious in French, which is such a Rockstar on brand thing to do, having brands with like kind of semi shit taglines. It's just unbelievably Rockstar, and it looks like this brand do things like snacks, some drinks, maybe like coconut water, strawberry water, stuff like that. And that looks like it's dog food. Is that dog food in a tin? You tell me. This logo looks very similar to the Marmite logo. So it's pretty cool. Now moving over to the right of the shop, we have these apartments, and we'll talk about this a bit later on, but as you can see, you can't see any interiors for these apartments. Now, me personally, I initially thought maybe this meant that we won't have interiors for these, but a few people have made it clear to me that as you move closer to these objects and these interiors, you might go from like this kind of like blanked out window effect into something like, you know, you see the windows look a bit blanked out. You might go from this into something a bit more kind of like a parallax effect or an actual interior. The whole point is rendering all interiors from this distance isn't possible. Now, do I personally believe that we'll be able to visit all of these interiors? Like I said before, I highly doubt it. But to make the interiors look more realistic, obviously from this distance, they're not going to render them all in, because it's just a waste of GPU usage for whether it's your PC, console, whatever it might be. Now, over here, we have obviously a Chevy and a guy hanging his arm out the car, but that's not the interesting bit. The interesting bit is just behind it, Simon's Tires. Now, these are actual tire shops. Now, this is a stretch, and once again, we are walking heavily down Speculation Street. Maybe when we pop a tire, or we need to buy bulletproof tires or colored smoke tires or something like that, maybe we just have to go to a tire shop rather than going to like a normal garage. Maybe there's different garages for different things, different garages for paint shops and wraps, different garages for like auto repairs, different garages for modifications. Just throwing ideas out there, but with how far Rockstar are going with attention to detail, I wouldn't be surprised. Now on the street here, we of course have a lot of trash, and with, you know, you'll see this throughout all of these shots. We'll have little bits of dirt and debris on the road, which just makes these shots look almost photorealistic. And then of course we have some highway signs over here. And just moving down, we have a motorbike which has indicator lights on the rear, which is interesting. Now, there's been a lot of conversations and speculation whether vehicle indicators will actually work. I think maybe if we slightly turn the controller, like slightly turn the vehicle left or right, maybe an indicator will come on, depending how hard you turn it. If you turn it really hard, then maybe not. I don't think there'll be a dedicated button for it on a controller. I just think like that's a bit of a waste of controller resources to do it for a feature that the masses probably wouldn't want. Now, before we talk about this vehicle here, I do want to mention that over here, these blades of grass, you can see individual blades of grass. And I know a lot of people spoke about this, but it still blows me away that this just looks so realistic. Over to this vehicle, we can see firstly the differential in the back. We can see the exhaust smoke, which we've just spoken about before, looks really good. And twin exhaust, twin lots of smoke. These rims are the biggest rims I've seen on a vehicle in a GTA game, maybe compared to the first trailer. They're about the same size as the pink vehicle in the first trailer, but that's not the interesting bit. The interesting bit is that the front wheels are bigger than the rear wheels, and to make the car level, the front suspension has to be lower than the rear suspension. Now, we spoke about this in the Port Gowhorn video, but I personally believe that we'll be able to not only change the ride height of the front and rear independently, but actually choose different size wheels for the front and rear to give our vehicles kind of different aesthetics and angles and stuff like that. So this just shows that Rockstar are taking modifications far more seriously. We can see on the back of this vehicle, we have these red lights at the rear, which once again, I keep saying it, but they look realistic. And we can see ray tracing doing wonders here on the chrome of the bumper, on the reflections on the window, on the side of the car. I mean, ray tracing in itself just helps things look far more realistic. Really, really, really impressive stuff. Even things like the underside of this bridge, you can see watermarks, or water has ran down the bridge. They've definitely done their research, and obviously we had those rumors back in 2019 that they had scouts in Florida and in Miami looking at locations, taking photos, and basically just recreating those scenes in the game with Rockstar's flair. It's really, really cool stuff. Now, this location here appears to be enterable, so it looks like this door is open, and this here is a window that goes through the shop, goes through one window and goes through another window the other side of the shop. So, and we can also see reflections here of the trees up here. So it does appear like this is actually an enterable interior over here. Not sure what it could be. Can we see what it is? Ah, tactfully placed trees. Thank you, Rockstar. I guess we'll never know. And from now on, we will keep seeing this, the Gloriana number plate. We know that Gloriana is supposed to be the Georgia part of the map for GTA 6, so we'll keep seeing that from now on. Now, this shot probably deserves its own video, but this shot is, there's so much going on, and I think the best way for us to do it is just to go through it step by step and go through kind of the individual points of interest, and there will be so many things I missed, like thousands of things I probably missed in this shot, but I will do my best to try and cover everything in as much information as possible without missing anything. If I have missed anything, it's not intentional, but make sure you drop it in the comments just so I notice it, and maybe at the end of this series we'll go back and revisit some of the things we missed. So at the bottom of the shot, we can see this poster. Now this poster down here is obviously advertising this building. Now this building, the Sumerian, is either a hotel or like the Sumerian apartment blocks. I'm not really too sure. It looks like it could be a hotel. We have this kind of like veranda public area that has like a pool over here and a nice little seating area. And we can also see, if we move up a little bit, this appears to be an interior, or at the very minimum a parallaxed interior. It appears to follow the shape of the wall will follow that way, so it could actually very well be an interior. We also have these really beautiful lights across the balcony, which maybe Rockstar will use a sort of system where, you know, interiors that are enterable will have some sort of feature that stands out so we know they're an enterable building. Now looking down here, we can see there's actually windows open in these, I'm not sure if these are actually apartments themselves or hotel rooms, whatever it might be. And we can also see over here what appears to be an open interior for what could be maybe parking, maybe a hallway, maybe a room. I'm not sure. You guys, make sure you let me know down below. Now looking down here, if we move down to the bottom of the image, we can see that there's of course a lot of vehicles going on, but also some vehicles don't have headlights on. Well, I say some, I mean one vehicle. This vehicle down here has kind of red lights at the rear, but no lights at the front of the vehicle, so we can see the rear lights. But maybe it's an option to turn off your headlights. Maybe you don't have to have headlights on all the time. You know, some people do drive around at night and forget to put the headlights on. I know you have to flash them on the bloody road, it's annoying, but yeah, we can also see all of these NPCs. Now, just to make this 100% clear, we can see NPCs here, and we can see NPCs over here, over here, over here, over here, and let's just zoom out, see how far away we actually are. We can see NPCs down at the very bottom of this image from this draw distance. That is almost unheard of in a Rockstar title. In fact, that's almost unheard of in any game. Let's forget Rockstar, let's just talk about any game. It's absolutely incredible, and once again, the headlights of these vehicles look so realistic. You know, this over here appears to be like, maybe like a Porsche Macan or something. It looks like we've got an Evo over here. Yeah, I mean, because obviously some of these vehicles may be new or adaptations of previous Rockstar vehicles, it's hard to say exactly what the vehicles would be called. So I'm just going to refer to them to their real names. We've got a Lamborghini, which probably would be an Infernus in the game. But yeah, and also over here we can see that the concert hall, we can see through this window into this kind of walkway here. So once again, that's either an interior or just a window. Not really sure. Now, the concert hall is an interesting thing to talk about, and the reason why it's such an interesting building to talk about is a lot of games online will have events. Fortnite had online events, music events. There's all sorts of really cool stuff that we might be seeing in online for GTA as well. You know, this would be a great opportunity for Rockstar to do collaborations with rappers, singers, where we can attend online events. I think Rockstar probably will go more in that direction of a fully fleshed out online system to compete with the likes of Fortnite and all of that in terms of the offering that they have for us. You know, maybe it's stuff that we might not enjoy, but it's definitely stuff that would be really cool and a different approach, and these venues all look like they're for that to take place. Now, walking across this bridge from the main concert hall, we go to a place here which has like ballet, and we can see that this building here is the Galena Ballet and Opera House. The Galena Ballet and Opera House. Now, once again, I mean, ballet, I imagine most Grand Theft Auto players aren't into ballet. I feel like this is more like a high life association thing where, you know, as you become very rich in the game, maybe you'll hold meetings at the Opera House or something, I don't know. Just spitballing ideas. Now, looking over here, we'll talk about this up here in a second, but we have the Vice City Arts Center. Now, once again, these interiors don't look like they are rendered in, they don't look like real interiors. However, up here, this does look like a real interior. It's really hard to tell what's going to be a fake interior, what's going to be real, what's going to be parallaxed, but obviously we have this Vice City Art Center, which once again is a opportunity for Rockstar to collaborate with artists, painters, and actually have their work advertised in GTA Online. Maybe an option for us to buy artwork from creators and have it in our apartments and properties and stuff. You know, I'm reaching here, but at this point, anything is possible. We are talking about Rockstar. Now, of course, we have this walkway above the Art Center sign, and that goes over to here, and this looks like it's an open door. It looks like a sliding door that's open for us to come in and out of, and this looks like to be like a balcony area. This thing here, this kind of like yellow thing, looks like it's a weight rack, and maybe these are weights stacked down here. It's so hard to tell. I'm sure you can understand this is really difficult to pinpoint what we're looking at. Looks like we've got a table over here with a TV on it or something. Maybe this is someone's balcony, maybe this is part of the art center, maybe this is an exhibit. It's really hard to tell. We also have some stuff on the roof over here. Is this trash? I don't know. So this blue thing here that's covered up, we also have a blue thing here. Not sure what that could be. Is that artwork outside? Are these... is it stolen art? Maybe there's an art heist. Maybe we heist some art in the game. That would make sense. Now, looking down towards the entrance of the art center, we can see once again NPCs down here, people sat down. We have escalators going up. I just can't believe the draw distances on this. It's absolutely incredible. Rockstar are pretty good at making games, aren't they? Now, looking at this highway, once again, these pink lights are absolutely beautiful. They look amazing. Not much to say in terms of the traffic here. We've got buses, we've got trucks, we've got different vehicles, SUVs, pickup trucks. But over here, we have this Navitrack truck. Now, this Navitrack truck, I'm assuming, is going to become important. We saw in the trailer, there was a shot where Lucia jumped into the back of a moving truck, and these Navitrack containers also appeared in the 2022 leaks. It looks like this is probably like the in-game version of Maersk. It looks like these Navitrack trucks are going to be in some part mentioned in the story or a side mission. Now, moving upwards a little bit, we have the Sahara Arena. Now, it looks like this is a play on Amazon, it's supposed to be like an Amazon arena. And we can see that the basketball team is the Vice City Narcos. Or Narcos. Narcos? 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 I don't know, guys, you tell me. Now, from this sort of distance is where we start to see the NPC break up a little bit, where we're seeing vehicles still, but we aren't seeing any NPCs. And I'm just scrolling to see if I can see any. I don't believe I can. Now, of course, this arena is probably going to be very important. A lot of basketball events and a lot of shows and stuff happening. I'm not sure if this will be a part of the story, but I'm hoping it's something that we can go and do, watch and engage with. I hope so anyway, because it's you know, it'd be really cool. It looks like from the first trailer, and of course seeing it, you know, in all of this artwork, it looks like a key part of the map, to say the least. So maybe there will be some more involvement in the main story from this. So in the background here, it looks like we have the kind of Hard Rock Cafe, I believe it is. I'm not too sure. It kind of looks a bit like it. It's in the same kind of geographical location, so I'm assuming that's probably what it is. In the background here, we have a boat, and on top we have the navigation lights. Now, before we talk about the cruise ship, because I've got a lot of questions and I don't really have many answers, before we talk about that, let's talk about the Ferris wheel. And this, of course, on the Del Perro Pier in Grand Theft Auto 5 was a really popular thing. Just from an aesthetics point of view, it was a landmark, it was a pinpoint. Not really many people used it, but it was a landmark in Grand Theft Auto, and it's nice to see something similar back for Vice City. Once again, it helps with kind of like geolocation, and this is something I spoke about a little bit in the last video. Significant landmarks, so when we're navigating the map, we kind of know where we are. This is kind of one of those things that will act as a significant landmark. This will be, you know, let's meet up at the Ferris wheel. That will be the kind of general approach. Now, let's talk about the cruise ship. So the cruise ship is really hard to kind of make out what's going on with the cruise ship. So at the back of the cruise ship, we have the bridge up here. Now, the bridge is where you pilot the ship from. It's where you captain the ship. Normally, bridges are at the front of the ship. Here, this ship layout is a little bit weird. Maybe it's similar to, I don't get me wrong, I love boats, but I'm not that clued up with cruise ships. We can see down the side here, we have lifeboats. And we also have the kind of stripes going down the front. Now, these stripes look very similar to the P&O colour scheme for the front of their ships. And we also have some like navigation lights, but Rockstar have been pretty accurate to how ships look. Now, I've seen a lot of conversations about driving the ship and the interior of the ship, and I do have to say, cruise ships, especially of this sort of size, they are mini cities within themselves. Like, to model this whole thing out is like modeling a whole different map. So it'd be nice if we can go inside it. It'd be nice if we can drive it. Of course it would be. That would probably be a year's worth of content for me. But I'm not really I am bothered. It's not going to be the end of the world if we can't drive it. It would be nice to do that though. But yeah, we'll just have to play things by ear and see what happens. Now, once again, we have these boats down here. Now, I spoke about this in a dedicated boats video I did for trailer 1, but the white light on top of the boat is an anchor light. So when you drop your anchor in the water, you know, to make sure you stay still, the white light's on. So if you see a boat without a white light, it's moving. If you see a boat with a white light, it's at anchor. So this boat's at anchor, that one's at anchor. And if you see a green light, it means it's the right side of the boat is facing towards you, the starboard side. If you see a red light, it means the left side of the boat, the port side, is facing towards you. Once again, this is just attention to detail from Rockstar. I would do anything to interview the team that works on the marine side of Grand Theft Auto 6 one day. I would love that, but with Rockstar secrecy, that'll never happen. But I would love it. You know, they've got to be interested in boats to get all of this sort of stuff. Bang on. I love it. Rockstar games, man. Now, the port area of Vice City is massive. You know, we've got like 4 gantries for loading cargo ships. Yeah, and obviously we have all of these cargo bays over here. I mean, this, if you actually just think about how big this whole area of cargo storage is, like in terms of the dock, it's massive. It's just going to be impossible for any of us to explore all of this. Like, even when the game comes out, we're going to have to map the game when the game comes out. Then, of course, we have this signage in the background, these advertisement signs, which we can't really read what's on them, but they're really cool. Now, what's really interesting about, see this building here, see how we've got this kind of like black thing moving out over here. Let me just show you in a bit more, less detailed, but it's more zoomed in. So this here is usually what goes across to the ship so people can board the ship and get on the ship. Now, these are terminal buildings. It's kind of the same thing you have at airports, but it's for boats. It looks like there's probably another one of these behind this ship. Or this ship is moving. Potentially this ship is moving. No, I can't see a wake behind it. Maybe it's not moving. But yeah, so this is kind of like the whole like terminal building of Miami, for the port of Miami. And of course we have a helicopter in the sky, and then once again, look into the distance. This draw distance is absolutely incredible. Amazing work. Absolutely love it. Such a beautiful map. You know, I sometimes get comments that, you know, I just glaze Rockstar, you know, and I have been critical of Take-Two in the past. I think we all have been. But it's hard to look at this and to look at all of this. It's hard to do that and not appreciate the amount of work Rockstar have done here. None of us have ever seen anything like this before. This isn't a game, this is a world. Rockstar are building a world, an ecosystem, an environment for us to spend the next 10 years. And, you know, this is probably a topic for a different video, but when we talk about the pricing of games, if this, you know, obviously the more affordable a game is, the better it is for everyone. People don't like to spend money, especially with, you know, the world's current climate. But if this game does cost $100, like people are saying it will do, maybe it will do, can you honestly say that this wouldn't be worth it? Because I can't. Now, obviously my financial situation isn't the same as everyone else's, but if this game cost $500, I mean, I'd rather buy this game than buy a console or buy a PC. If I had to choose between, you know, sticking with my current setup and playing this, or buying a really nice TV or whatever, or something that costs 5 times as much as this game wins over pretty much any purchase I can make. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, now there will be loads of things we've missed in this image. We're going to move on to another image for fear of making this video 5 hours long. Now in this image we have money flying around, and if I just zoom into the actual money itself, you can see the detail in the notes. Even the notes have serial numbers on it. That's how insane Rockstar have got with the attention to detail. We can see that tattoos look really realistic, and obviously oil and sweat, whatever it might be, you can use your own imagination. It makes skin reflective and light bounce off skin in a certain way, which is just incredible. I really think Rockstar have gone to the next level. We can even see here that this clasp like just the little bits of attention to detail. We can also see a character with their tongue out, and also teeth, lips and tongue all look realistic. Games developers keep making the mistake of making this look like a texture. It's hard to get this right, but clearly Rockstar have. Now, luckily for my ad revenue, there isn't actually anything else to really go over in this image. Yo guys, it's Cyberboy in the edit here. So this video is actually around an hour long, but I'm uploading it as it is for now. The second half will come in the coming days. So tomorrow morning I'm moving house, so everything's packed down. I'm currently sat on the floor editing this with no furniture around me. So I'm sorry for this being a shorter video. The second half to this video will be coming out in the coming days. I just thought, if I don't get something out now, you're not going to get a video for maybe 4 or 5 days, and I didn't want to leave you all hanging. Of course, I will be doing teardowns of every single piece of material Rockstar has released over the past, well, week since trailer 2. It will take a bit of time, especially that they decided to drop it all the week before I'm moving house, so that's fun. But I just want to say a very brief thank you to everyone that supported the channel over the past week, and actually over the past year. I started this channel just over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, and I have no words to express my appreciation for all the support I've had. And the past kind of 5 months in particular, maybe even 4 months, has been phenomenal. It's genuinely, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, it's changed my life. So I appreciate all of you, and there's not much I can really say to show my appreciation, but the one thing I can do is promise you that I will do my best to get out the best content I can. And I feel like posting half a video now is a bit of a disservice to that. I would like to get this fully finished, but I've been painting the new studio all day, and there's actually a whole half of the studio you guys haven't seen, so you will see that very shortly. But I've been painting the new studio, the second part of the studio, and obviously I'm moving into the house near the studio tomorrow, so it's a very busy time. I've been kind of spending 6 to 8 hours a day at the new house, sorting everything there, decorating, coming back, making videos, and not really getting much sleep over the past week. So although I'm excited for all the stuff that Rockstar dropped, I am human. But yeah, no, you will be getting a lot more videos from me. Next 2 or 3, maybe 4 days are a bit hectic, but after that, I can assure you there'll be daily uploads for at least the following month. I've got so many video ideas planned. I don't know how I'm going to get them all done. But I'm loving this at the moment. This is, you know, it's a lot of work going into this, but it's really difficult to express how this feels like work, because it doesn't. Oh, you guys have changed my life. You've changed my life. So this is the best thing ever right now, and I'm loving every second of creating content. And yeah. Alright, I'm going to end the video now because I'm getting all sappy, but thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you all in the next one.
New beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, moved G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club.